Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will look at using transition utility classes. We're going to start by talking about these four groups of transition classes. The first one is transition. Transition classes helps to move or transit element properties from one state to another. Then the next is duration. Duration classes tells how long it takes for the transition to take place. Then we have delay. Delay classes serves as time delay before the animation takes place. Then we have timing function. Timing functions are used to specify how the transition is carried out across the duration it exists. And you can see each of them has their own class implementation. If you want to do transition, you say transition, color, or opacity, or shadow, or the rest of this. Also for duration and delay has these values and they are measured in milliseconds. 0 means no duration, 75 means 75 milliseconds, 500 is half a second, and 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. And this works the same way with delay and then also the timing function. Let's use a button to implement how this works. So I'm going to have a button that has the word click one. I'm going to first move it. I would like it to be like somewhere here. I'll give it a background blue and horizontal padding of 5, vertical of 2, and then I'm going to make it rounded large so that it looks more like a button, and also give it text white. This is a button, but if you put your mouse on it, you don't see any interactivity. For you to add interactivity, as we know, we're going to say give it an over state of a BG blue 800. If you put your mouse on it, let me change this to click 2. It has an interactivity. You can see that it changes from a lighter shade of blue to a darker blue. However, the change is very drastic. You can see the way it changes very quickly. What we can do is use transition to smoothen the change so that it can go through a duration of time, not just very drastic change. So what we'll do is, this is color. We can do transition color. So we'll do that here. Transition colors, and nothing changes with transition colors. But when you add a duration, let's give it a duration of 1000 milliseconds. You're going to see that when you put your mouse on it, it is into that new color. I'm going to create this so that we can have two different ones and make the third one that has a transition. So this doesn't have any interaction. This has a drastic move from light to darker, and then this has a transition with 1 second flow from the light blue to the darker blue. Let me make another copy of this, call this 4. Now for button 4, it's going to work the same way as button 3, which has a transition, but you might take out the word transition color. If you take out the word transition color, you see that it still works. And actually, if you take out the whole word transition, it still works because the duration implies that it has a transition from its current state to another state. Let me make another one. Click 5. I'm going to use transition opacity. With transition opacity, it's going to be working like click 2 because the transition here is a transition color. So you either use transition color, or you don't put transition at all, or you just use transition, or you use transition all. If you're not sure what to use, let me create another one here. Let's call it 6. You can use transition all as is specified here. With transition all, it still works because it now uses opacity, colors, and shadows, and transform whatever transition you want to apply. Let's create another button. I'm going to call this click 7, and let's add a delay to this transition. And we're going to say delay 500, which is half a second. For transition 6, you will see that immediately you put your mouse on it, it transitions from light to dark blue. But for the 7th one, because we had a delay of half a second, it waits for half a second before it does the transition. So look at it. It delays and it transitions. And also, when you take out your mouse, it does the same thing. It delays, then it transitions. This effect can be used on any element, either HTML elements or images. Let's try to transition some images. I'm going to create a div with an image, and I'm going to create multiple images. Now I have 6 images all together here, and I'm going to put them in a grid. So I'm going to turn the parent class to a grid, and that will be grid calls into columns. Grid columns, I'm going to say a 3-column layout. I'm going to change this image 6 to 3 so that the images all line up. So I have all this image, and I'm going to put a gap of 2. These are just images in a grid. Now I would like to add some interaction on these images, and I'll create a class, and in the class I will specify that on over the image should scale from 100% to 105%. So it scales by 5%. So when you over any of the image, you will see that change, that little over change. But then the way it transitions is to jagged. So now I can come to the class and add a duration of say 1000. When you put your mouse over each of them, you will see that transition is different and more subtle. Now let's see how to use timing function. I'm going to create another image from one of these images. I'm going to call this image 18. I'm going to put some breaks just so to separate it, and I'm going to give it a size, and then maybe put an MX auto so that it stays in the middle. So I'm going to change the overstate to 125. You know, when you over, it comes more out. And if you notice the way it acts, it comes in softly, then moves fast, and then ends softly. This is the default behavior. That is in and out, comes in softly and then also goes out softly. If you say ease in and out, it's going to actually do that same effect. But there are other ones like linear. This is where you see the difference. Linear just zooms the image at the same speed. It all goes at the same speed. It doesn't ease. It doesn't have that ease effect that ease in and out has. And you can do in. For in, the image zooms slowly in, then it goes fast. And for out, it does the opposite. It comes fast, and then at the end, it goes in slowly. So depending on the timing action you want, you can use ease linear, ease in, ease out, or ease in and out, which serves as the default.